Worldwide, the global debt is increasing. That's pretty obvious. You've seen it, I've seen it, and everybody, even in the mainstream media, they're showing it. Let's take a look at something that just came out recently. Global debt exceeds $100 trillion as government Binge. That's according to the Bank for International Settlements. See, it went up from $70 trillion in mid 2007 all the way up to $100 trillion, a 40% increase in only a few short years. What's happening here? What are they doing? Well, we've talked about this in many other videos. I've talked about it in my book. Let's get into just one thing today. Before I want to mention that, I want to talk about Basil. They really stress that Basil is so important. And I want to talk to you about a personal experience I had with a senior SVP of a major financial institution here in Canada. He stressed to me, he insisted to me that Basil was crucial. How can you know anything about the financial system when you don't understand Basil? You need to know that their recommendations are absolutely important, and that's how the economy is driven, and so on and so forth. And I told him that it had no significance and that the real deal had nothing to do with Basil. Basil is nothing. They just make recommendations. Countries are supposed to follow them, and that's it. They have no significance, but this individual, this senior VP, was so adamant, and I just gave up. That's enough. I have had it with that. But he could use a money GPS read, I think. But anyway, he also get into the austerity measures in this article. Austerity measures are another thing that I consider to be crime, because what they're doing is sticking their hands in the people's pockets and giving it to the bankers. That's exactly what it is. So for example, the IMF will come in and they will say, you have to perform austerity measures, and at the same time, our friends can go buy in the Greek islands and they could buy up your assets for pennies on the dollar. That's an austerity measure. I don't agree with it, obviously, and this is just another scheme to steal from the people. The middle class are being destroyed. Now, going back to Basil, Mike Maloney here, $10 oil. Mike Maloney schools bankers on deflation and gold. You may have seen this video right here where I paused it. He's actually saying that Basil 2 and 3, all of the financial assets and all this mumbo jumbo is bull. And you can watch him say that. I'll put the link in the description. He, in front of all of these financial advisors and everyone that their whole livelihood is based on this, he told them it was bull. And I'm very proud that he did that. I totally agree with that. Look at the GDP of the entire world. It is, as of 2013, according to the World Bank, about $72 trillion. You have $72 trillion, and that includes the fractional reserve banking. That includes a whole bunch of things, but does not include the derivatives and everything else that is under the table. Look at how much wealth, supposedly, that these countries have. $72 trillion. When I wrote my book, this number was lower, and they seem to have grown in the last few years. But is it real growth? Is this not fictional? Which country can you say that has had significant growth since the financial crisis up until now? Even a country like China, which does grow year over year, they have maximum amount of empty houses. Entire cities are empty. Infrastructure being supported. This is a public works project. You have the US. Do I even need to say 100 million people on food assistance? What about 50 million people on food stamps? You have Mexico in a major tyranny where it's just, bodies are being found every day, heads cut off, all kinds of things. The Middle East is in an uproar. Every country is in some sort of disaster right now. There is no sense in reality in this whatsoever. Big banks and derivatives, why another financial crisis is inevitable. And I completely agree with this. In fact, that is one of the premise of my book, is that the derivatives are the absolute crutch in the system that is going to be knocked off and it's going to collapse the whole thing. And I can show you that in a diagram that I did for my book, where you have a pyramid, but it's flipped upside down because the real assets, our real value, the GDP, and actually not really the GDP because a lot of that is fictional, but for the moment, go with me on that. You have the GDP of the economy holding up the fractional reserve banking, which is gigantic in compared to the real assets, but then you throw on top the derivatives. And these are mega monsters that will, in fact, collapse everything. The entire derivative market, as I quoted in my book, according to the Biz, $1.5 quadrillion, bigger than the debt that we currently actually are showing of $100 trillion. It's 1.5 quadrillion. And you can go even lower estimates. Let's say something like 700 trillion. Pick a number. It doesn't matter. It's all fictional. You have $700 trillion. You have $1.5 quadrillion. And you're trying to support that on billions of dollars and trillions of dollars. It can't be done. And that's why this has to ultimately collapse. There is no other way out. There is, in fact, a way for you to prepare, a way for you to soften the blow. And I hope that you're listening to me and listening to others and really protecting yourself and your family. It is so crucial. We've actually run out of time. If you haven't made the preparations already, I really feel that we've run out of time. I want you guys to all get on the Money GPS Insiders. That's where I can share a lot more information that I can't get to on the YouTube channel, and get on there. There's growing support on there, and that's the best way to get in contact with me. And I do reply there very quickly as opposed to the comments, which I can't get back to very often. Thank you.